आपका इंटरेस्ट वेदांत में कैसे आया?
And it was like all the relations came and the friends came and they were like, what happened here?
A teenager joining
Yeah,
ashram.
I was 21 years, just given my graduation exam. So how do we handle this? We have to create proper human beings. And the role of education is that. We hope that these people will not become job seekers, but job creators.
And maybe our association is so beautiful because Rishihood is working on the same way and same path. We have our foundation courses and obviously Impact University, creating impact and working on the individual.
Yes.
But how was that 3 years?
So it was very strict, but it was also very comfortable.
For our audience, what is the basic understanding of Vedanta?
Vedanta comes from two Sanskrit words, Veda Anta. So it is the philosophy or the knowledge.
Namaskar. Today we have a very special guest with us, Janki Santoke ji. Namaskar ji. I hope this will be a very interesting conversation for our audience today.
Thank you. With
Janki,
you, I'm sure it will be.
Thank you. जानकी जी के विषय में आपको अगर मैं बताऊं तो शी इज अ renowned Vedanta scholar और स्वामी पाद सारथी जी के डिसाइपल रही हैं और इसके आगे अगर हम उनके बारे में जानना चाहते हैं तो मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि हम जब बात करें और जब जानने को मिले वो ज्यादा इंटरेस्टिंग होता है. तो शुरू करते हैं. जानकी जी, सबसे पहले आई वुड लाइक टू रिक्वेस्ट यू टू टेल अ बिट अबाउट योर जर्नी, योर लाइफ जर्नी. कब आपने शुरू किया, आपका इंटरेस्ट वेदांत में कैसे आया?
You know, from my teenage years, I had many questions, and my mother would always say, you know, teenagers are all confused. When you grow up, you will know. I used to think, oh, really? That doesn't sound right, because when I looked at 40-year-olds, I would think they don't seem to know anything. You know, at that time, 40 sounds like a very old person. So I thought, they don't seem to know. But so just had a lot of questions. So once after my graduation, I was again sitting with my mother, I mean, almost like this. There was a coffee table in front of us and the telephone next to me. And there was an invite for Bhagavad Gita lectures from Swamiji, Swami Parthasarathi. And I again was asking my mother something, and she said, you don't bother me with your questions. You go and ask whoever knows. So I said, this guy claims to know, I'll ask him. So I was sitting, that was the time of landlines and all. So I picked up the phone, you know, the Josh of youngsters. He claims to know, I'll ask him. So I picked up the phone and I called and I said, may I speak to Swami Parthasarathi? And the voice at the other end said, speaking. Then I got really frightened. Ye maine kya kiya? And then I said, yes. And I was like, what do I say now? So I said, I have a few questions, Swamiji. Can I meet you? He said, okay, 9:30 tomorrow. Like, what is going on over here? Because firstly, nobody used to pick up their own phones. And if you get to them, they'll give you an appointment 3 months later. I mean, only later I realized that if you can give an appointment immediately, in spite of being a busy person, how efficient you have to be able to accomplish that.
Yes.
So next day I promptly landed at his house at 9:30 and he said, do you want to join the academy? I said, no, I don't want to join any academy. I just have a few questions.
So this happened in Mumbai?
Yes, Mumbai.
Yeah. Okay.
In 1988.
Okay.
And then but anyway, he said, I'm driving down if you want to just come with me. I said, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. I'll go. And then I went home and, you know, I'd fixed with him that he's going to pick me up on Friday morning. And I mean, none of this at that age sounds surprising to you, that the Swami will come himself. This is not just anybody. It's a well-known person.
Yes.
Pick you up, take you there. And Monday morning, he dropped me back home. And then my mom said, oh, how was it? So I said, oh, it was good. I think I'll join. And she just like, okay. And then Tuesday, I started packing up my bags. She said, what are you doing? I said, I'm going to join the ashram. She said, what happened over here? She was like completely flummoxed. And was like, all the relations came and the friends came and they were like, what happened here?
A teenager joining an ashram.
Yeah, I was like, 21 years, just given my graduation exam. And like, like, what's going on? Like, everybody landed up. But I had fixed with Swamiji that Wednesday morning he was going to pick me up.
जी.
So these people carried on whatever they did, and I carried on whatever I was going to do. And well, that's how it all started.
So you started your studies of Vedanta then and there. So it was like for a few years you stayed in ashram.
Yeah, it was a 3-year
3 year, that
full-time
time.
residential course. You're not allowed to leave. You're supposed to be there full-time. My parents and my, all the relations said, what is going, how can this young girl go like this? So, and you can't come back for 3 years, or you can come back, but then you can't go back to the ashram.
जी, जी, जी.
So then 3 years I did, and I wanted to do some more, so I stayed longer. Must have stayed there about 8-9 years.
Okay.
Then I was in Delhi for a few years. I started the institution there. Then my father wasn't well, so I came back to Mumbai.
Mhm.
I ran the Hyderabad center for a little while. Then I started Vedanta Institute Mumbai. And now we have recently started the Vedanta Wisdom Trust.
Okay, okay. You're also coming up with a university.
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
So
A bit about it.
yeah, so basically today's education system is all focused on one thing: placement, career, money. That's it. What are you studying for? How much money am I going to make?
Yeah.
They give ads also like that. Join our course. This will be your, your placement and all this. So all around that. That's not what education is meant for.
जी, बिल्कुल.
Education is meant for the full human being. Even if you earn money, you have to know what to do with that money. You have to know how to handle your health, how to handle your relationships, how to handle a host of other things in life. It's not this simple that you paise kama liye to sab kuch ho gaya zindagi mein. It's not that simple. I wish it was, because then life would be easy. But it's quite complex. And you have to be given the tools to handle that complexity. And today's children have an extra level of complexity, because whatever you are studying in your college today, you don't even know 10 years later whether that field will exist. So you need some very different abilities, some very different skills. This system is not going to work. And in fact, as everybody knows, even though this system is designed to give you employability, most people leaving the system are not employable. Everybody who's tried to employ people has found that, "Hey, Baba, degrees hai, but I can't employ this person." So this whole thing is a bit messed up at the moment. So what do we do? When you start thinking about it, you start realizing there's a whole host of problems in this world. External and internal.
Correct.
There's war, there's crime, there's climate change, there's all sorts of external things and internal things. There's stress, there's discordant relationships, there is lifestyle ailments. Har taraf problem hai. So what do you do? What is the root of all these problems? The root of all these problems is the human being. If the human being was not there, there'll be no problem on earth. So that seems simple, just get rid of the humans. But then if you get rid of the humans, then there's no progress, because all progress is because of humans. The animals and we started in the same jungles, but then humans reached the moon. Animals are where they were. So it's almost like we have this very naughty child. He's brilliant, but bahut destruction karta hai ye bechara. So how do we handle this? We have to create proper human beings. And the role of education is that. So that's why we are thinking of starting the world's first Vedanta University, which will teach Vedanta, which means it will teach all the knowledge of life and living. And this, we hope that these people will not become job seekers, but job creators.
Yes.
We also hope that these people will become individuals in themselves that are role models for everybody else. And of course, we hope that some of them will take to teaching Vedanta as well. So this is what the great hope and ambition for it is now. Ram Bharose, yes.
Best wishes. And
thank you.
And maybe our association is so beautiful because Rishihood is working on the same way and same path. We have our foundation courses, and obviously impact यूनिवर्सिटी, क्रिएटिंग इम्पैक्ट एंड वर्किंग ऑन द इंडिविजुअल. जैसा आपने कहा बिल्कुल सही बात है कि इंडिविजुअल अगर तैयार हो गया तो बाकी सब चीजें तो वो कर ही पाएगा.
Absolutely.
अगर सिर्फ एक अर्निंग के लिए डिग्री लेके घूम रहा है, और ये बहुत कॉमन हो गया है. हम इसके बारे में भी आगे चर्चा इसमें करेंगे. पर हाँ, आपकी जर्नी शुरू जहाँ से हुई थी वहाँ की एक और मैं बात, you were 21 when you went to ashram.
That's right.
So those 3 years, were that very comfortable for you, या बीच में कभी आपको ऐसा भी लगा कि यार मैं आ तो गई हूँ लेकिन because you were very young at that time.
Yes.
और मैं ये भी कहूँगा you were very lucky कि आपके मदर ने आपको अलाउ किया, पेरेंट्स ने अलाउ किया कि अच्छा ठीक है जाओ, वरना अगर कोई जो नॉर्मल पाथ है उसको छोड़ के अगर कुछ भी और चूज करना चाहता तो इट बिकम्स वेरी डिफिकल्ट. यू सेड दैट एवरीबॉडी वाज देयर टू ask you what's wrong with you. Yes. But how was that 3 years? Were they very comfortable? Was it a very strict disciplined lifestyle? You felt a little uncomfortable at times, especially that.
It was a very disciplined lifestyle, very restricted lifestyle, because that's part of what you have to learn to do. In fact, at one point we were taken to Mumbai for Bhagavad Gita lectures that Swamiji was taken. And even when we were taken as a group to Mumbai, just for a few days, it continued to be very regimented. So it so happened that the place I was billeted in was the flat that I was in was 2 floors above where my brother stayed.
Mm-hmm.
And I was not supposed to go down to his house because you are cloistered, you know.
Yeah.
And of course, that drives everybody nuts because they are going to brainwash you. Ab pata nahi kya karenge, you know. So yes, it was extremely strict. The discipline was very strict, and it was a schedule from 4 o'clock in the morning till 9 o'clock at night, and you were expected to follow it every day. No breaks, no vacations, no nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So it was very strict, but it was also very comfortable.
Hmm.
The only discomfort I had was my own fault, which was I was wondering, am I really evolving? I wonder if I'm evolving. So once my teacher fired me about that, you forget about whether you're evolving and focus on doing what you're having to do, which, you know, sort of being in the presence of your teacher is like the greatest boon, you know.
जी.
And at that point, he had just started. So he had just started the academy.
Yeah.
And so he was relatively, he's always approachable. He's approachable now also. But relatively, when he was in the ashram, at least, we could just go and talk to him, whatever you wanted. So how many of his man hours I must have wasted. You know, in the time I'm supposed to be in my room studying, I used to take my whole list of questions and go to him. And he would be studying when I entered his room. So he'd say yes, and I'd say, so, Swamiji, a few questions. And I'd waste all his time. So it's very comfortable because, I mean, who could have had this
but
great
never
luck?
said no to your questions.
No. He would fire you if your question was stupid, but we'd give you all the time in the world. Yeah, really. Now when I look back, I really think I took a lot of advantage of him, and he was quite patient about it.
मेरा कारण ये भी था ये पूछने का, because you know when students, college going students, and if they are studying after their graduation, they find this time of studying a bit difficult. They find it difficult to follow a strict discipline. They have self-doubt too, right? Now, in your case, you said that, am I evolving? I'm not sure, but okay, am I progressing? It could be like that. Will it help me? So basic question remains the same. You are on the path of spirituality, studying Vedanta. But here also, when students are there, in general, if you talk about college-going students and those who are doing their post-graduation, maybe their PhD or thesis, ये common चीजें होती हैं जिसपे सबका झगड़ा चलता रहता है अपने आप से कि इतना स्ट्रिक्ट टाइम टेबल फॉलो करने की जरूरत भी है क्या, कोई नहीं कर रहा तो हम क्यों करें, ऐसा क्या मिल जाएगा, और दूसरा इससे मुझे फायदा होगा कि नहीं. सो मैंने आपको इसलिए पूछा क्योंकि वी हैव टू कंक्लूड इट दिस वे दैट दीज आर पार्ट एंड पार्सल ऑफ growing in life, evolving in life. What would you say?
Yes, because eventually, yes, completely agree, because eventually when you say I studied Vedanta or I studied physics or whatever in the world you studied, It is not that information, it is the person you became. So if you don't have that control over yourself to do what needs to be done, when it needs to be done, how it needs to be done, knowledge के साथ करोगे क्या? You will not apply it when it has to be done. So you cannot achieve success if you do not have control over yourself. It's just not possible. Because when you have to do something, you will say, अच्छा मैं थोड़ा scroll करता हूँ, 2 hours have gone, काम कौन करेगा? If you don't, it's not just information, it is the person you are. And you can't achieve anything if you're not in control of yourself. So it's not the timetable that's important, but the fact that you're doing the timetable which is important.
True. So true.
And as far as the second thing, ki mera kya hoga, that is the whole problem of human existence. All the time we are focused on mujhe kya milega instead of mujhe kya karna chahiye. And that is all the agitation. Why is all the students are terrified of exams? But why are you terrified of an exam? Because you haven't studied. It's that simple. So concentrate on the study and there'll be no terror for the exam. If you, whatever you know, you write over there. If you go in calmly, peacefully, at least you'll be able to write everything you know. If you go all agitated, and whatever you know also nahi aayega. And that's such a common experience, right? They leave the examination hall and say, oh, careless mistake, oh, I knew this. Then why didn't you know it while you were writing? So the discipline helps in all of this. When you go to an interview, you may have a degree in your hand, but if you can't speak to the person, degree kya karegi? So you have to have that self-control. You have self-control in terms of regular discipline, the consequence of which is when you need your mind to be in the here and now, it will be.
You have been studying Vedanta. Before I proceed further, for our audience, what is the basic understanding of Vedanta?
Vedanta comes from two Sanskrit words, Veda, Anta. Veda are the 4 Vedas. The last portion of every Veda contains the Upanishads. Since the Upanishads come at the end of the Vedas, they are known as Veda, Anta, Vedanta. So it is the philosophy or the knowledge enshrined in the Upanishads. Because we are a very, very old civilization over a period of time, the Prasthanatraya, the foundational textbooks, are Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, and Brahma Sutra. All these 3 put together is Vedanta. Now, what does it do? It simply tells you the facts of life. There is no Upadesha, there is no Adesha. There is only the fact. And to relate to Vedanta, you have to have an intellect, because you have to take the law and then understand its application in your life and its context. For instance, take a simple law like an object is attracted to the center of Earth at 32 feet per second squared. So in physics, itna batayenge. Okay? Vedanta mein bhi itna batayenge. Ab jao soch lo, iska karenge kya? But then when you come to Upadesha, it will become, or Adesh or Upadesh, then there will be an explanation of this law. Okay? If you walk somewhere, you can fall. Every object which goes up will come down. All explanations. And then this also, if you cannot understand, then there's an Adesha, which is, don't walk on the parapet wall of the 40th story of your building. So then comes the Adesha. So Vedanta is only the original law. Like a Vedanta law, for instance, simple one is, the world always changes. It's a simple law. You will be told this much. Now you have to figure out, if I put all my happiness on something that is going to change, when it does change, I have to be ready for what happens. This is your understanding. So if you take the Vedanta laws and reflect on them, which of course your teacher helps you do, that this is the law, so what are its applications in your life? And therefore, what things are more permanent? What things are less permanent? What are the things we should be focusing on? What are the things it would be more sensible to defocus on, then the explanation starts. But Vedanta is nothing but the laws of life and living. And anybody who attempts to live life without these laws, do it at your own risk and cost.
And how do we practice in our daily life?
In Vedanta, there is not so much practice as contemplation.
Ji.
So the first and most important practice of Vedanta is getting up during Brahma Muhurta, which I am sorry to tell everybody is between 4 and 6. I'm sure you know this, but everybody starts getting terrified with the first stage only. So basically, they say get up between 4 and 6 and study, because at that time, you are at your most calm, most peaceful state. The sattva in you, the purity in you is at its peak. Not only that, the environment around you is sattvic as well. Even an alcoholic will not start drinking at 5 o'clock in the morning. So, at that time, everything is sort of inside, outside, sab shant hota hai. And your sattva is at peak. So, if you apply this, the most important part of your personality, to what you think is the most important thing in your life, you will make progress. So what is the most important thing in life is your compass. So every morning is the study to understand more of life, so that we are dealing with the whole panorama during the day properly. And then of course there's a discipline day. So yoga hoga, bhajan hoga, karma yoga hoga, kam hoga. So all disciplined manner, all this. But your light is your study. और उसके बिना कुछ करोगे तो अंधेरे में कर रहे हो.
It gives you the clarity to walk and progress on the path.
Yes. That's the fundamental thing of Vedanta, to create clarity.
It is for the Gyan Margis, maybe we can say, as you said, you need to have an intellect to understand that. तो सब एक ही चीज के पीछे ना पड़े, जिसको समझ में आ रहा है, जो समझ सकता है, जिसमें वो सामर्थ्य क्षमता है, वो देखे. अन्यथा there are other paths also. The path of action, the path of bhakti, the path of
absolutely yoga. This is not for everybody, but it would be a big pity if the people for whom it is meant don't take it. If you have an intellect, if you have an inquiring mind, if you want to know what this is all about, then this is for you.
This is for you. Acha, ab isme we have this wonderful book, The Happiness Guarantee, which is by Janki ji. Janki ji, इस book के बारे में आप कुछ बताइए ना.
Yeah, so
because happiness is something we all are running after.
Yes, absolutely. It is such a strange phenomenon in this world that anybody doing anything, the wickedest criminal to the highest sage, everybody is doing it for happiness and happiness alone.
True.
But nobody stops and says, but where is this happiness? इतना हम लोग भागे जा रहे हैं, पर कहाँ जा रहे हैं? And if I reach that, will I find happiness? Why do people try to earn endless amounts of money? Why do people fall in love and they want to commit suicide if their partner is unobtained or leaves them? Everything is the pursuit of happiness. So why not ask the question, where is happiness?
Wonderful.
That's the fundamental thing. Like air crash investigations we'll do. But if my happiness is going, I'm not going to investigate that. So that's why it's a trilogy, which is like 3 books. The first book is on the whole philosophy, the sort of global understanding of how is happiness created in us in the first place. Then the second one is on the attitudes. And the third one is the Adesh. It's a to-do list. Ye sab karo. Because there are various types of people, and some people say, look, I don't want to hear your philosophy. Kya karu itna hi batao. So the third book is for them. Some people want that inspiration and understanding, that inspiration with the explanation and all that. So that's book 2. This one which you have in your hand is book 1, which is on the philosophy. Why is happiness elusive? How come we don't get it? If that's all we are seeking, why are we not getting it? Not we. From the time the first human walked on this planet, that's all he did, sought happiness. And yet, how many people can claim I found it? So, that's the philosophy. Why do we not gain happiness? Then, what is the root of happiness? Where does happiness come from?
So why don't we get happiness?
Because we look for it in the wrong place. If you go to the desert and you dig and dig and dig and try to get water, nahi milne wala. You will have a big pile of sand, but no water. So you're looking in the wrong place. And when we look in the wrong place, we don't find it. And even then we don't say, what happened? Why didn't I get it? So it's very tragic, really. And I hope we can, as humans, understand this. There's so many, if you say, I will get happiness by getting something from the world, at least we have to understand that it's not that easy. Number one is you have to get that thing. It's not necessary that everybody who tries to get it will get it. Having got it, it has to be as you imagined it's going to be.
Correct.
It may not be as you imagined it to be.
Yes.
Okay, let us say it is as you imagined it to be. Then it has to stay with you. If it leaves you and goes, again you'll be miserable. Okay, chalo, it did not leave me. It stayed with me. Then will you be happy? No. After time, you'll get bored with it. And then you get bored with it. Now what will you do? Now you'll start this whole rigmarole all over again.
So there's no end to this.
Yeah. So at what stage do you expect to be happy? Of course, I'm giving you the brief version. I mean, there's so many pitfalls in this whole story about mujhe ye milega, fir main khush hoon. There are too many pitfalls in this theory.
Desires are the reason we understand for happiness. If my desire will be fulfilled, I'll be happy. This is the common understanding. And there's no end to desires. So how do we understand this lalach for desire? And where one stops? How do he gets that understanding? Obviously through the scriptures and knowledge.
Why do we have lalach? Ignorance. How does it go? Knowledge. Because once you understand, we think I will fulfill my desire and I will become happy. This is simply not true. Happiness is our inherent state. When we get a desire, we get agitated.
Correct.
The inherent happiness has now gone.
Correct.
Okay, so I'm dying for a mango. I get a mango. My mind was, I want mango, I want mango. My mind is agitated. Then I get the mango. I have the mango. The agitations come down. I say, see, the mango has given me happiness. We don't understand that we've not got the causation properly. I was happy. I got agitated. The mango removed these agitations and my original happiness has simply come back to me. Like I throw a stone into a placid pool, the ripples start. Then after some time the ripples stop and I say, see, what a pleasant pool. But it was like that to begin with. Why? Who told you to go agitate yourself? But it's very difficult to think this thought. So one way of looking at it is, I believe that by getting the object, I become happy. But we can also look at it like this, that the reason the object gives me the happiness is because the desire is not there. So the real cause of happiness is the absence of the desire.
Yes.
And that is very difficult for most people to sort of wrap their head around. If you have a desire, you will be agitated. If you don't have a desire, you will be happy. It is as simple as that.
Yes, yes.
So people then argue. I'm sure you will also ask me. So I'm arguing now because if there's no desire, what's the progress?
Is it possible to have that state of desirelessness?
Yes. And if you are desireless and everybody is desireless, progress kahan se hogi? So Ram Rajya kahan se aaya? Ram Rajya happened because Ram didn't have desire, no? Krishna brought righteousness back to the country because he didn't have desire. Anybody who is able to achieve something spectacular It's because he's able to put all this noise of desires aside. He has not a desire, he has a goal, an ambition.
जी.
And every desire he puts aside and goes for that.
The ultimate aim.
Yes. And then he goes, even if it's not ultimate, even if he has to achieve something substantial in the world. I don't mean something silly like I made so much money, but something really substantial. Like that man, what was his name? Manji, Manji. How did he go through that mountain single-handedly? Went through the mountain. That means he was putting aside things, no? He didn't say, oh, why don't I go and do this? Why don't I start an orphanage? No, he had one laksha, ek laksha. Go for it. So progress happens not because of desires, but because you fixed yourself a point to reach and you are able to work there. Now most people say, how will I fix that point if I don't have a desire? How you fix the point may be because of the desire. But unless that desire is directed, you will not reach. As you start directing the desire with your intellect, it becomes a goal. And that's how you reach. That goal prevents all this, like, baju karo, and you go for it.
मैं अक्सर अपने स्टूडेंट्स से कहता हूँ कि see there's nothing like comfortable progress. What would you say on that? क्योंकि उनको चाहिए कि भाई हम कंफर्ट में भी रह जाएं और हमारी तरक्की भी हो जाए. अब जैसे हमने मांझी उनका एग्जाम्पल दिया, तो वो तो एक बिना टूटे एक ऐसा डिसिप्लिन वो फॉलो कर रहे थे जहाँ पे बाकी सब कंफर्ट एक तरफ थे, और तब जाके वो एक ऐसा कुछ कर पाए, ऐसी हासिल कर पाए स्थिति जिसमें उनकी भी तारीफ है, और जो बन गया वो तो कोई कल्पना नहीं कर सकता था कि कैसे बनेगा. So can comfort and progress go together?
Well, it's just another way of saying you'll have to put your desires aside if you want to get somewhere.
Yes. So we are finding comfort in
Yes.
fulfilling those desires.
In petty things. Wasting our life behind petty things. अभी क्या चाहिए? Burger चाहिए. अरे बाबा study तो कर लो. No, I can't live without burger. Okay, then need burger. It's the same, right? If I want to make myself financially stable, I can't keep taking out my credit card and keep on making purchases. So basically, I'm saying if you want financial stability, you better put up with the discomfort.
जी. मैं 2 सवाल आपसे और करूँगा. एक ये कि जब हम बात करते हैं हैप्पीनेस इंडेक्स की, so India is never on the top. Finland is. So जो क्राइटेरिया है हैप्पीनेस इंडेक्स को मापने का, या तो वो तरीका बदलना पड़ेगा, या क्या आपको वाकई ऐसा लगता है कि वी इंडियंस आर नॉट हैप्पी? बिकॉज इफ आई सी थ्रू माय वर्जन एंड विजन, आई बिलीव इंडियंस बेसिकली आर पीपल हु बिकम हैप्पी विद स्मॉल लिटिल थिंग्स आल्सो. ऐसा कुछ बहुत ज्यादा नहीं चाहिए जीवन में, बेसिक चीजें हो रही तो उससे भी वो प्रसन्न नहीं है. हम जो नॉर्मल बात करें, आपका क्या विचार है इस पे?
I've not put too much thought in it, but what always occurs to me with these kind of things is your stats, that the number you have used should be representative of your population, right? I mean, it's a basic rule. So if you sort of interview 20,000, 30,000, 50,000, 1 lakh Indians, do they really represent a billion? I mean, I don't see how. It doesn't make sense to me. I mean, I'm sure the researchers have done their job. I haven't studied it. But to me, it just sounds that it is not a statistically significant number. So whatever conclusion, even if you have the best questions and the best things, how do you reach these conclusions on so insignificant a number? But again, I have not investigated it. Just ऊपर से ऐसे मुझे लगता है.
जी. एक लास्ट प्रश्न मैं आपसे पूछना चाहूंगा कि आध्यात्म से लोग डरते हैं. जनरल कोई आध्यात्मिक व्यक्ति मिले, if you are spiritual, although spirituality is in fashion these days, but when you talk about following discipline on the path of spirituality, then people are scared of it.
Absolutely.
And आगे उसके मैं पूछना चाह रहा था, 2 चीज़ों के विषय में आप और हमें ऑडियंस को बताएं, स्वभाव एंड स्वधर्म. दिस इज समथिंग विच इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट इवन फॉर लर्नर्स टू अंडरस्टैंड. उस पे आप कुछ प्रकाश डालिए.
So, since we are a very ancient tradition, these words have been used quite differently in different texts and all. I'll go with the one way we use it. So, swabhav is your nature, and swadharma is the field you choose based on that nature. So, if I have a nature like medicine, then I should become a doctor. I mean, that's the field I choose. Or if I'm scientifically minded, then I should take up a science field. Or if I'm artistically minded, then an art field. Now, when you follow your swadharma, you have the best chances of being a happy, contented person. It's not the only thing, but it's the first step you take. If you take this step wrong, like you take a career because your friends are taking it, or your parents say you should take it, or you don't know what else to take, so you take it, there will always be some degree of discomfort with it. And then it will complicate life because you will try to cover that discomfort with other things and just create further complexity. So the first step of life is to choose the field of activity very carefully based on your own nature. Do not consider anything else. Everything else you consider after that.
नेचर के अकॉर्डिंग चूज करने में कई बार फैमिली फ्रेंड्स कंफर्टेबल नहीं होते या आपको डिस्करेज करते हैं कि नहीं, दिस इज द ट्रेंड, दिस इज व्हाट इज गोइंग ऑन. व्हाट डू यू थिंक यू विल डू डूइंग समथिंग एल्स व्हिच सूट्स मोर टू योर नेचर? हाउ टू डील विद दैट?
I'm the wrong person to ask that question. You know what I did. The whole world was against it, and I have not regretted this. And nobody who's following the swadharma is going to regret it.
So important is to understand the swabhava.
Yeah.
Once you're clear with your swabhava, you'll get to know.
Yeah. What is the field of activity you should be entering.
Yes.
And then once you've entered that field, then you set a higher ideal, a higher aim, and work towards it.
There are endless questions to ask, and I'm sure कि if we continue, तो ये podcast बहुत लंबा चलेगा. But thank you, Janki ji. Thank you so much for being with us. It was wonderful talking to you.
Thank
you.
I
believe our audience will get a lot of subject matter to contemplate. Thank you.
Thank you.
Namaskar.
Great pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.